Hey guys, it's T. Want to welcome you to Guys That Talk About Nothing. We got DJ and Ace. Hey guys, what's
Sir.
going on? So I think the first thing that we wanted to talk about today is drum roll.
Now that's
You guys
someone
ready for
hitting
this?
you nuts.
You guys ready for this? All right, here we go. Parental beatdowns.
Ow!
Mm,
Yeah.
very interesting. I heard already.
You
I
hurting?
heard already. Yeah, I'm hurting already. I can feel it.
So
Yeah.
I know all of us have stories of growing up and things that have happened to us. Um, I'll start it off. So one of the things that resonates with me growing up, um, my parents were great parents, still are great parents. I know that when we got in trouble though, they didn't play. I would get a beating from my mom if something was
Mm,
wrong, and then she would say, "Wait till your father gets home," and I'd get another beating. But the
Wow.
one thing that stands out to me is my father had this black leather belt. He used to hang it on a nail. And my brother and my sister, we would walk back and forth past this belt all the time. But what made the belt unique was that it had, my dad took some white shoe polish and painted a white lightning bolt on the belt and called the belt Black Lightning. So talk about intimidating. That was very intimidating. So that was one of the things that I think stands out for me. But you did not want to get hit by that belt.
wow. How,
Yeah.
how how thick do you think it was? Like what? 3/4 of an inch?
I mean, come on, we're talking about, the early 80s or whatever, late
Like a
70s.
long piece of beef jerky.
Right.
But that
Probably
belt
thicker than beef jerky.
probably, the width of that belt was probably about 2.5 inches, two and a half
Wow.
to 3 inches, something like that.
Wow.
But
Incredible.
man, when that leather made contact with your skin,
Mm,
it was a wrap.
wow.
Hmm. I
Whew. That's interesting.
I had the old go get your own switch thing.
Oh yeah.
Mm,
Yeah,
hmm
and
Yeah, we
you
had
know
that.
how that goes. You can't bring back a flimsy switch because they're gonna
Oh
beat you
yeah.
with that switch and go make you go get another one till that other
Yeah.
one breaks. So you get like
Yeah.
double the punishment, or maybe punishment and a half. So because that other one's not gonna be as bad. But
Mm-hmm.
one time I got in trouble. My brother and I, we saw a cigarette on the ground, so we picked it up and started smoking it. And I think I don't know, I was around maybe 8 or 9, and
Mm,
some neighbor
mm,
snitched on us and told my mother,
yeah.
man, snitched, and we had to go get a switch. It's nothing worse than crying, picking your abuse weapon. You know, you just in there picking off the leaves and stuff. This better be a good one.
And you know
Been there.
that's a double beat down. One, you shouldn't be smoking,
Yeah,
but two, you literally it's nasty. So you
yeah,
Yeah.
picked up a cigarette that someone else had their lips on. I could just think of what my mom would say. So that's like a double beat down.
yeah,
Nasty, and you're smoking. I mean, you're
yeah.
gonna
Mm.
put your lips on something that someone else had their lips on. Oh my gosh.
It
Yeah.
was terrible. But you know what's
Yeah,
even, you know
that's
what's the catch 22 is, we need neighborhoods like that again where your neighbors snitch on you and everybody's
mm,
unified and making sure you get your punishment. So
yeah, and
Yeah.
enjoying it.
yeah, because like now nobody wants to talk about other people's kids. Don't you talk about my kid? So what, he was smoking. That's my kid.
Hmm
They could smoke.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Back then, you're like, uh-huh. Hello?
Well, the
Yeah,
neighbor should
the
have
boys out there
gotten
smoking. Oh, okay. That's it. The
Yeah.
neighbors are
the
awesome.
neighbor should have got stitches because you
Oh,
know snitches get
No,
stitches.
that's the problem, man. That's why these kids are like that
They're
now.
probably older people.
Yeah,
Say,
they
I saw
Right.
your son outside smoking
everybody
a
now want to
cigarette.
be like, oh no, don't you talk about my kids. Who of my kid is terrible. I don't care if he punched the old lady in the face.
what?
That's my child. Like
Right.
Oh man.
back in the day, it's like, what? He punched the old lady in the face. I'm gonna take care of his ass as soon as I get home.
That's right.
But
That's
Yeah.
right.
So
Well, see, so Derek, so you when I went out to pick my switch, I got the brown ones, so they would be brittle and they would break. And of
yeah,
course, after I got hit with the brown one, it would only be 2 or 3, then it would break. And then my mom would send me out to get the green ones,
Yeah.
like the rubber ones.
Yes.
But of course, I would get kind of lost and I'd be meandering through the field, until she fell asleep.
Oh.
Yeah, she would fall asleep, then I would come back in the house and she'd say the next morning, I know what you did. You're still going to get it. And that would kind of delay, my punishment,
Oh,
at the
man.
end of the day. So that's interesting. I never did pick the right switches.
But she never came full circle with it, right? I mean,
No.
See,
gotta
you're
let it go
fortunate,
after a while. She got a few licks in. Okay.
My
Single
mother's
mom,
anger,
no. Mm-mm.
my mother's anger was like caffeine. She wasn't going to sleep, man. We had to get that beating, man. We weren't gonna make it worse by being out too long either. So,
Yeah.
and unfortunately for you, Tom, you had both parents. Fortunately and unfortunately for us, we only had one.
One parent.
Yeah.
That's right.
But there was good and bad, because you would already be suffering after getting a spanking from mom, and
Yep.
you would hear, it's like you have bionic hearing, because you would hear that door close from your dad's car when he comes home in the evening.
No,
And
I
as
can't
that front door opens up, man. Oh man, dude.
Dude,
You can hear the footsteps coming into the house and up the steps, and you can hear them all happy and giddy until she tells them the story.
I'm sick of your
down the
humble
hall.
bragging right now.
Yeah.
I got a father, you guys didn't.
No,
what kind of person
no,
are
no,
you?
no.
Like, yeah, my dad was all happy. You guys didn't have a dad, so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, but I have one other occasion with my grandmother. It was me, my cousin Tracy, and my brother Vince. We were walking to the store with my grandmother. Kids, we like to walk ahead. So she told us before we left the store, you guys make sure you do not cross the street without me. Man, we were playing with sticks and, running around. We got to the house and she didn't say a word. She came inside. She said, "You boys beat me to the house, huh?"
Then she proceeded to
said, "Okay, here's what I want you to do." She put her bags down. She says, "I want you and you to go outside and pick me a switch." She said, "I want you to pick all the leaves off of it and make sure it doesn't break, because if it breaks, you're going out there and getting another switch." And so, this was a big family house. And what I mean by big family house is there were always family members in and out of the house.
Right.
And so in the living room, my grandmother had this piano and this piano seat. And we went out, got our switches, came back in the house. And she made us lean over the piano bench.
Oh, man.
And my uncle Ronnie, was standing on the steps singing. So
what was he singing?
I don't even remember. All I remember is
it was like a theme song for her.
No, but I do remember he had some sort of cadence going. He was rapping or something.
Oh, he didn't want to hear. He didn't want to hear.
So he was smiling and we were crying and we were looking up at him and he's sitting up there smiling and singing. Man, that is something that I will never forget. But she said, I bet y'all won't cross the street again.
So you and your brother got a spanking, but the young lady did not. Your cousin.
No, because she didn't. She laughed when she came in the house because she knew what was about to happen.
Oh, she also. So you got caught up with your brother, and she was obedient.
Oh yeah,
I can imagine Vince causing trouble, because Vince caused trouble every time I was around that dude. Not every time, let's be accurate, but I've seen him cause enough trouble to know that he was probably the main person.
Yeah. So when we talk about our grandparents, that's a whole different thing, and so. I certainly have a lot of stories about my grandmother. She, of course, would do amazingly spontaneous things, like if you were talking back to her and washing dishes, she would come and the refrigerator was behind you at the sink. And she would go in the refrigerator, and we always had a pitcher of ice water in the refrigerator, and that then was poured over your head, and you had to clean that up off the floor.
Wow.
Yes,
What?
absolutely. Yes, and then there were
That's
these
some prison guard stuff,
man.
It had some
grandma
electric wires on the
was
floor
tough.
too.
Yes, so you have to clean the water up off the floor, which was humiliating. And then of course she had the big spoons and forks on the wall. And so inevitably, when you got in trouble, you would run down the hallway to your bedroom, and she would snatch one of those off the wall and hurl it at you. And she was very accurate. I would say that she would be the #1 draft pick, over Trevor Lawrence, because she was very accurate with that. But one of the best stories I have that I can remember, my uncle and we went to church with my grandmother and grandfather, and it was snowing. So what happened was we didn't want to be in church, so we went around the side of the church and was making snowballs and throwing those snowballs at the cars that were coming up the street. And so as you can hear them, boom, hit the car would slam on brakes. And so we're standing there, and this deacon comes out, and he says, "What are y'all doing?" So we ran all the way home. And of course, church let out maybe at 1, but we realized that our grandparents weren't there until, it was like 4 o'clock. They still weren't home. But when we got home, we did the exact same thing: make some snowballs and throw them and hit the cars that were coming up the street. Boom. So of course we ran in the house. When they got home, the neighbor came out and explained to them that cars were complaining about being hit by snowballs. And we ran inside the house and climbed under the bed. Now, my grandfather was a plumber. The water was always scalding hot. We would not come up out of the bed. So she went in the bathroom, filled up a 5-gallon bucket of water with hot water. And she was so mad that she threw it under the bed on the carpet. And we had to come out because the water was scalding hot. The carpet was hot. The floor was scalding hot. And so when we came out, man, she commenced to just wearing us out with the next best choice of beating you down, which was what? An extension cord. Yeah. So,
that's jail time.
Oh man, they left those, webs and stuff on your arms. It was just amazingly crazy, the beat downs that we got for our behavior. But we couldn't do that today. You're not gonna spank anybody with a switch, right? That's against the law. You may be able to hit them with the black lightning, because a belt is okay.
Here's what you do, man. Armpits. You punch them in the armpits, behind the knee. There you go. No bruises.
Plucks. Our thing was our uncles used to pluck us right in our temple, and it would sting and leave a little mark right on our forehead. That was humiliating, because people knew that you got plucked because it was swollen on the side of your face.
That's amazing.
But yeah, you can't touch the kids today, man. I mean, these kids now, I mean, they got their cell phones. They got 911 on speed dial now.
Well, so. And again, I think what was the root of beatings, right? We know that came out on a serious tip from the whole slave thing, because that's essentially what our ancestors got. They got beat down. And so then today, it's not something that is warranted or is tolerated, but nobody had child protective services in the 16, 17, and 1800s, which is when we needed it.
They would beat you in front of everybody there.
Right, exactly.
They didn't care who was around.
That's where this came from.
Well, I think part of the issue is that you have to know, like, if you're going to discipline your kids, you got to know the limits. If they're young, you smack them on the hand. If they say something, you smack them on the lips a little bit. You ain't got to go crazy, but enough to let them know you're serious. And you raise your voice every now and then, let them know that you're serious. So when they get to like 10, it's no big deal. They know the threat is more than the actual punishment, because you won't have to do it. Because no one wants to waste their time beating kids every day.
But I think a big part of that, D, is that there is no longer a parental fear factor that used to be in play when we were growing up.
Yeah, and
Kids aren't afraid of their parents anymore.
And that's why, because they're not. And no one's saying you got to go punch your kids, slap them all over. Like a little bit, you smack, you sting that hand after you tell them stop enough times. They know, you know. I didn't really have to discipline my daughter as much. When they got older, the threat was more important than anything.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, and it's also a mindset in the child's mind. They're like, you know what, will my dad or my mom be upset if I did this?
Yeah.
And I think that's a big deterrent by itself.
Yeah.
But we'll see.